And welcome to the Bullock Experience. What's in your tackle? Episode number 28. Special guest tonight is the man, Chris Souders.
Buddy, thanks for having me on here tonight.
I appreciate it.
I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be fun. It's been a while since I've done a live broadcast, but I think we can handle it. I think we can get it done tonight.
Absolutely.
Looks like you got a bunch of people in the chat already.
Yep, looks like we got it. If you don't mind, we're going to go ahead and go through the chat real quick and say hi to our fine folks and give them a rundown of what's going on tonight.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, we got the Browns, Mr. and Mrs. Ernie and Chrissy Brown. Downtown Ernie Brown, uptown Chrissy Brown. We got Martin S. all the way from the UK. We've got Avid Fisherman. We've got Mike's Fishing Home. We've got Lance Makuga, our Hawaiian fisherman.
Hawaiian
Well,
that sounds like fun.
We've got Fishing with Big Mike in the house. What's going on, Big Mike? We got 351 Cleveland. We've got Outdoors with Big Matt. What's going on, Big Matt? We've got Big Dan all the way from the UK. We've got Kenneth, Take Down Catfishing. We've got Chucky Morgan. What's going on, Chucky? We got 13 people in the house. Appreciate you all coming in. There's Brian B., Jeremy Colvin. And I believe we've got caught up with everybody. Appreciate you all coming in here and hanging out. If you all see the banner going across the bottom and the pinned message, it is all about our guest and everybody that's in chat. We're going to have a little different show tonight. It's going to be more of an interactive show. So if you've got questions and you want to ask, you can pop up on that link and I'll pull you up and you can ask them. So you can have a personal one-on-one with Chris asking your questions.
But I think that's going to be something really nice to do. Bringing somebody else in like that and letting them interact, on the show as well. Not just watch the show, but be able to interact with it. I think it brings a new element to the show, and I think you're going to get some good feedback from that. I think it's a good additive to it.
Yeah. What's going on, Miss Catfish Regulators? Cincinnati Cat is in the house, and there's Mr. Patriot James himself is in the house. So, let's get it started. Chris, just kind of give us a little background of where you're from, who you are, and just kind of have a little history about yourself.
Yeah. So, most of the people in the chat, I've talked to a lot of them, but for the ones that don't know who I am, my name is Chris Souders. I run the Slender Cat Outdoors YouTube channel, and I also do Slender Cat Guide Service and Academy. A lot of people don't know what that is. I just kind of recently started it up, and it's something I'm very excited for. I've had actually Jeremy Colvin was kind of part of an experiment, I guess you could say, of how it would go. And there's a lot of folks that have went through it this year and given me a lot of feedback. So I do a couple different things. Slender Cat Guide Service, which is strictly just taking somebody out that wants to catch fish and maybe catch the biggest fish of their life, take them out. My sole concentration is doing just that, putting them on the biggest fish that I can absolutely put them on at that time of year. Slender Cat Academy is completely different. I have a conversation with the individual. They tell me, a handful of things that they want to learn, tell me where they're at in the country. And then I build a specific special day, 8 hours of nonstop information where I just pound it in their head of whatever technique, whatever style of fishing, whether it be anything from tying a hook on if you've never been fishing to tournament level style of information on how to plan for a day. So and everything in between. Anything from precision anchoring, learning how to read a sonar, catching bait, reading what is on the bottom of the river, and soon to come, Lowrance active target, how to use it and how to get it to your advantage. That's something new that I've been using, and I'm excited about it. It has taken my bait catching skills to a whole new level. And once I get all the kinks worked out of it, I'm going to start adding that into the academy class for people to learn as well. So something I'm real excited about. Like I said, I've been doing it this whole last year and had wonderful success with it. And I'm going to go, 100% with it next year and try to teach people as much as I possibly can. But yeah, anybody that's on here that doesn't follow me on social media, I'd love to have you. Anything from YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and now even TikTok. For all you young TikTokers out there, I'm not so young anymore, but I do enjoy TikTok. So yeah, come over, join, follow me, and we do a lot of fishing all over the country. And my whole purpose is 100% spreading the word of God and our Lord and Savior, and teaching people how to catch fish as best as I possibly can.
Awesome. Yeah. It's always special to go back to your roots and just do what you like, especially putting God first in it. And I mean, that's, if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't have what we have.
That's
so it's always been great.
Brother.
And we've already got your first hook set there, Mr. John Holiday. What's going on, John? Yeah, if y'all have, like I said earlier, if y'all got questions and you want to interact and ask Chris yourself personally, just click that link that's pinned in the chat box, and I'll bring you up and you can ask your question straight to him.
Yeah, and if any of the folks have questions that are in the chat about, what the difference is between an academy class and a guide service, I'd be more than welcome to explain it more on here, or please feel free to reach out to me. I don't advertise. This is actually one of the first times that I've really advertised it on any social media base. And just reach out to me. I'm going to start scheduling for 2022 really, really soon. So I'm not going to do a lot of them. I want them to be special to the folks that do come out and support me and spend the money to learn. And I like to take the time to build a specific day specially formulated around what their needs are.
Like that was Mr. John Parker there with the Real-Time Catfish, and says he just made a new fan from them comments. See right there, just what you were saying. I mean, you're going to get some of these people in here, him and John Holiday, they're going to start following you now a lot more, just because of what you told them. So that's good. That's really good.
Hey, well, I appreciate it. You said I can't. For some reason, I'm not really seeing a whole lot of the comments. So you said his name was John?
Yeah, it's John Parker with Real-Time Catfishing. He's the one that does my thumbnails, and like with Haz and Chunky and all them. He does all the thumbnails for all of us.
Well, John Parker, hello, buddy. And you've done an awesome job on this thumbnail. I wish I could do half as good of a job on a thumbnail as you did. That's a slick looking thumbnail, buddy. You've done a wonderful job.
He actually did a live the other day, actually showing off how he does the thumbnails. So if anybody really wants to know how what the app he used, what the software he uses to be able to do it, he's actually had it all in there. Shows you step by step what he was doing.
Well, that's awful nice of him. Heck, not too many people want to teach people stuff like that. That's pretty awesome, John.
Oh, absolutely. I've got a little admirer sitting here beside me down here hollering in my ear, I've got a question.
Well, let's hear it.
Come on. What kind of rods do you use to catfish?
Well, what's her name?
This is Sky.
Sky. Thank you, Sky, for being brave enough to come out here and ask that question. That is awesome. So right now I'm using Catch the Fever rods, and And I'm absolutely glad that you brought that up. I've had a lot of folks reach out to me and ask me why I have switched brands. I used to be a true blue Warrior Cat rod fan, and they're still a great rod. Will never hear me ever say anything wrong about those rods. But I am fishing with Big Cat Fever now. Warrior Cat rods, they ended up having to sell the company, and ultimately I ended up walking away. But with Big Cat Fever, I like their. This is an actual medium light rod here that I use for dragging lakes and channel cat fishing. But their new orange Hellcats, the medium heavies, and extra heavies are the ones that I use now, and I truly, truly like them. They're a little bit lighter than the original Big Cat Fever rods, and they're great rods.
Yep.
Does that work, Guy?
That worked for her, didn't it? Yep. She's shaking her head. Yep. Patriot James says, Chris, thank you for what you've done for the catfish world.
Brother, you're very welcome. It's man, I tell you what, it's been a heck of a ride. When I started this, heck, I can't remember how many years ago, and I started fishing tournaments and was blessed enough to be able to win 2 back-to-back Angler of the Year titles. And to see where it's at now, and to see the vision of where it may possibly go, it's just absolutely blowing my mind. Yeah,
absolutely. Oh, there we go, guys. We got the first question out of the way. Somebody come up on live to do that. Thank you to my little girl for being brave like she does.
Absolutely. That's awesome.
Yeah. Let's see who else has popped in here. We've got Fishing with the Chad, Mr. Chadwick. Chad. The golfer. I'll put it out there. He's the golfer. We've got Freddie's Outdoor, his broadcast partner in the bait shop on Thursday nights. And let's see who else we've had just popped in. I think I've got everybody. Yeah, and one thing with real time, he put it in there, and he is blind, basically blind when he does all this. He's out there fishing. He was out there fishing today on the James River with 2 stands and stand 3. So he was out there doing that with him and his wife.
Hey, another question that I get a lot of is the hooks that I use. I'm going to pull a couple hooks out here. Let's see. So everybody that knows me knows that I was and am a huge Diachi, however you pronounce it. I always say it wrong. And once again, they have noticed that the brand has changed, of the hooks that I'm using. So I want to explain that too while I got a chance. So Diachi Hooks was made by the same company, mother company, as Boss Cat. They had Diachi hooks, but the mother company wanted to. They see the potential in catfishing. They see the growth in catfishing, and they kind of decided that, hey, we want to be a part of this. We want to help bring products to the market and try to help this sport grow. So they decided to come up with a brand called Boss Cat. Boss Cat is mainly, a lot of people see it from me because of the hooks, right? But they got different products throughout the Boss Cat brand, and they got more products that are, in the works that'll be coming out in the future. So one of the things that they did was, everybody has, always seen me use the 7/0 Diachi, right? I'll hold that closer to the camera.
There you go. I gave you full screen. There you go.
Yeah, there we go. And That is an amazing hook. It is a ADOT Super Boss Cat. That is the same hook that people have seen me use for years and years and years, and I have 100% confidence in it. It's caught fish for me all over the country. It's definitely put its time and money where its mouth is, per se. But one of the things they did, they listened to a few of us anglers that was out there fishing for big blue cats, and we wanted a bigger hook with the same quality as the ADOT. So they come up with a 10-aught, and this is a 10-aught Super Boss. Now this is the black nickel, but it's got the same features as the ADOT does. Get it to focus there. But as you can see, it's just a little bit bigger than that, you know. So if you're somebody that fishes, say, the Mississippi River, or like we was out last weekend on the James River, someplace that has a high population of big blue cats. Big blue cats got that real thick bottom jaw, and those 10-aught hooks and bigger hooks kind of give you the opportunity to get over that bottom jaw a little bit. So definitely check them out. They're, you know, that's another question I get asked a lot about, you know, when people look at some of the products that I'm using and what I have used and what I'm using now. So that's kind of an explanation on that one as well.
Patriot James wants to know, how's the boat going?
Good. So for you guys that do follow me, that are on here and don't follow me, about a year ago, I was in a car wreck and I was pulling a brand spanking new Dynasty, Sea Arc Dynasty. And that thing hit the ditch and hit a concrete culvert, and off the trailer it went, and it got totaled. But I always believe that things happen for a reason. And I decided to go with what is called the Protege from Sea Arc Boats. It's a smaller boat. It's a 20-foot boat. It's basically a ProCat 200, but without the rod lockers. It's just kind of an open concept. I kind of refer to it when I'm talking to people. It's kind of like the work truck package of a Chevy 1500 or 2500. You know, it's kind of bare bones, basic style package, but it does have a lot of features with it. And anybody wants to check it out, you can go to Slendercat Outdoors, and I got a full walkthrough video of it, you know, before I got it all dirty and slimed up. But it's doing wonderful. I truly love it. It's I've been guiding out of it now. 3 people is perfect. 4 is crowded. 2, you got plenty of room. Me and 2 guys spent a week on the Mississippi for the Mississippi River Monsters, and then I just spent a week James River, and we cooked breakfast, dinner, and lunch on it. And you know, of course, we don't sleep on it, but you could if you really was dedicated. I'm not that dedicated. I go into the hotel and get cleaned up and get a warm bed. But Patriot James, it's doing a wonderful job, and I am extremely happy with it.
Miss Catfish Regulars has got a question for you. She says, Chris, what motivated you to move towards the education realm of fishing?
Oh, that's a wonderful question. You know, this is this one kind of hits hard home, hits deep. So whenever I was in school, I struggled. I've always struggled I don't want to say I've struggled my entire life, but I've had to fight, you know, and work hard for everything that I've gotten. And whenever I started, there really wasn't nobody out there to really help. You know, you had to learn things the hard knock way, I guess. And whenever I was fishing tournaments, I had a lot of people come up to me and they'd ask me questions. And so I started a YouTube channel, and I struggled with it because as I was doing it, you know, there was things in the background that I didn't want to show, and things that I was doing that I didn't want to show because it was things that I learned. And I was talking to one of my really good friends, and I'm going to give him credit on this. His name was Greg. And he said, I told him, I said, man, I hate to go fishing and film today because I know where they're at, but I don't want to show it because I don't want somebody down there fishing it.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a pretty blunt person. And he said, well, you're going to have to choose. I said, what do you mean? He said, you either want to help somebody or you don't. You know, either you're going to help somebody, make these videos and help somebody, or you're not. And I said, you know what? You're right. To me, it's more important to help folks than it is to worry about whether somebody's going to try to fish a spot that I fish or something like that. So it just, once I got that in my head, it was just like a fire, and the joy that come from helping people. I would help one person, and then he would, that person would send me a picture of them taking their daughter out or granddaughter or son, and it just it would just make the hair on the back of my neck stand up and make me feel so overwhelmingly great that I knew this was the path. This was the way that truly I was supposed to go. I prayed about it, and it felt right. It felt like every time that I was supposed to be doing it, it worked out. It worked out great. I was able to share my testimony with folks on what's happened in my life, how God has saved me from, alcohol and other things in life, and took cancer from my wife and gave us kids when we weren't supposed to have kids, and just, many testimonies of how God has come into our life and changed it. Not only can I teach people how to fish and catch fish, but share those testimonies and help them make memories with their loved ones.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Fishing with the Chad says, when is Chris finally going to break Mark's West Virginia state record blue?
Well, it ain't from a lack of trying. I will guarantee you that. I don't know if Mark Blauvelt's on here watching tonight, but he has been able to hold on to that for a few years, and kudos to Mark for that. I was actually there during the tournament, the Cabela's tournament, whenever he got the state record. I believe we actually won that tournament whenever he got the state record in that tournament. So I was able to see that fish and watch it be weighed and watch everything unfold. So, it's not from a lack of trying. I can promise you that.
And we'll have a kind of a follow-up question, almost kind of like that here in a little bit, because I didn't seen it. But Martin Martin S from the UK wants to know, what kayaks do you use, Chris?
Well, yeah, you can right here behind me. So the top one is this is my wife's. It's actually a Jackson Tubalo, which if you're a woman or even a gentleman that wants a lighter kayak, super easy in the water, easy to paddle, stays straight, tracking wise, that's a extremely great kayak. It's a sit-in kayak, so you slide down in. It's not nearly as stable as a stand-on kayak, but it's a wonderful, wonderful kayak for just going out. Now, for me, I'm more of a bigger feller, so I had to go with the big kayak. That's a Jackson Big Rig HD. It's actually, I have a 50-pound Terova iPilot on the front, or it's power drive. That's a power drive on the front. And then I run Biano power lithium batteries in it. And, for me, that paddle ain't too much fun, but that remote, I can cruise on down the lake at about 3.5, 4 mile an hour, and I can fish all day and super stable. I can throw a cast net off of it. That is a super, super good kayak if somebody's looking for one to fish a river or lake, either one. That's definitely one you definitely want to check out. Gotcha. Got a lot of track on it to mount rod holders. I got Monster rod holders, 535s on there, and a lot of storage. I took it's actually a pedal drive kayak, But I took the pedal drive out, and they make this huge dry storage console that it doesn't stay too dry. I will say that much, but fits right where the pedal drive was supposed to go. And I can fit all kinds of equipment in it. Then there's a storage on the front that is actually big enough my 7-year-old daughter can get inside of it, and I can close the lid. That's a pretty tight fit, but that'll give you an idea just how big the storage is on the front of that. So you can put all kinds of say camping gear in it, and I put my lithium batteries in the back. Just a super, super good kayak, whether you just want to go out for a day or maybe for a whole weekend.
Yeah. Follow-up question, like I said, to that one with from the Fishing with Chad. This is from Brian B. Says, can you teach Chad how to fish? I said, I don't like when my buddy doesn't get on good fish. Can you help him, please?
I would love to, Brian B. Love to.
Keeps questions going. There's Mark from Catfish and Crappie. What's going on, Mark? He was crappie fishing this morning. I think he got on about 5 keepers.
Yeah.
So he was
that's something else. That's something else I really like too, is crappie fishing. A lot of people know me for catfishing, but I love to crappie fish, and I actually will be doing some crappie guiding this spring as well.
We've got our first guest coming up. So let's go ahead and bring him on up here. This is Freddie Outdoor.
What's going on, fellas? You all right tonight, Chris?
What's going on?
Yes, sir.
I hope I don't lag too bad. I got a bunch of stuff going on here at the house. I figured since started up the show, it's been about 20 minutes now. Nobody's jumped in. I figured I'd be the first one, I guess.
Let's do it. Let's get that.
Go for it.
Get that monkey out of here.
There's a lot of questions I'll ask. I haven't seen any of them yet. They're all mainly based on catfishing. That's the big thing that's going on right now. I haven't hook set you yet. I'm in the process. I'm going to do it here as soon as we get off the show. But so I don't know too much about you, Chris. So that should make it even more interesting, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
The first thing I'm going to ask is, do you prefer dragging, anchoring, or bumping?
So that's a good question. It really is. I truly am probably one of the few that you will ever meet that I enjoy everything. So I started off drifting. Whenever I first started, we started just drifting for blue cats, and then I found out what flatheads were. And once I found out what flatheads were and how hard they fought, my heart and soul just dumped into learning, how to catch flatheads, which in turn forced me to learn how to precision anchor, read a sonar, figure out the difference between structure, cover, what kind of cover they liked per year, per the time of year. And, of course, how structure, made pinch points and forced fish to travel in certain areas and be more predictable. So, whether it's dragging, bumping, walking baits, or precision anchoring, if I can get them to bite, I enjoy all of them. I wouldn't say that I prefer one. Well, I take it back. Now I'm talking about it, I'm going to say bumping. Bumping on the Mississippi is what if I could live, if I could live here and catch fish bumping like I do when I go out to the Mississippi, that's what I do all year round.
Gotcha. So with that, what kind of rig do you prefer? That Santee rig, Carolina rig, Kentucky rig, especially that you like bumping so much.
If I'm bumping, tell you what, hold that thought and I'll go get my bumping rod.
Appreciate it.
Come on.
Appreciate that.
No problem. I figured somebody needed to jump on with you because you put it out there. And I like to talk.
All right.
Oh,
so
yeah, absolutely.
This is actually a B&M bumping rod, which is a really good bumping rod for somebody that doesn't want to spend an enormous amount of money. Maybe you don't bump very much. You're just learning how to bump. these will take a little bit more abuse than what a higher dollar bumping rod will. So to start with, this is, let's see, what is this? 7.5. Yeah, 7 foot to 5 inch. But that is a convector Akuma. Hold that up there.
Very nice.
And it's got a line counter on it,
Yeah.
which is really important. It's basically like a bigger version of a bass reel, low profile style reel, got the thumb really, button in the middle. It's still got a power handle. But the biggest thing is, you want something that is a 6 to 1, 5, 7 to 1, 7, 3 to 1, something like that, something that's real fast. When you're bumping and you're in a heavy current, things happen at such a rapid pace that you want to be able to catch up to fish, or if you're snagged, you want to be able to reel in your slack real quick, things like that. But my rig is just a basic 3-way rig. Let's see here. And this is actually the same rig that we fished the Mississippi River monsters with. But what we have is 65 pound braid. And that is, let me hold it back here a little bit. That's, I believe, Power Pro, I believe it's Power Pro. And then that is a 100-pound 3-way swivel. Now, if you can see, I have the braid tied directly in line to this line right here. Mm-hmm. That is a dropper line that goes down to your sinker. Okay, and I'll explain that in a second. And then I got about 2.5 foot of leader line with a chain swivel tied in between. And then I just got that's an 8/0 Super Boss Cat hook. You see, we caught a few fish on that one. That one's starting to turn gold on me. But the reason that you want to put your braid in line with your sinker dropper, and that is about 15 or 18 pound, just cheap monofilament. You want it to break so you don't break your fish off or something like that if you get in a rock. But you want to be able to feel the bottom. So as you pick that up and you set it down, that's directly in line with the sinker that's hitting the bottom. So as you're walking it, walking baits down the river, you'll feel it a lot better. You'll want to use like a round cannonball or bank style sinker to be able to get more surface area as you're walking it down, be able to feel things. Now you can add in a float to that as well to help keep it up in the water column, or if you're in slower current, a couple tricks to do. You can add a float that'll grab current and pull it down easier and better and smoother, or you can add bigger pieces of bait. Anything that the current can grab and help you walk that bait down the river, even in slower currents, can really be effective.
I like it. That inline swivel makes a lot of sense. It'll help keep that bait from spinning as much, I think. Correct?
Yeah, absolutely. That chain swivel, your bait, no matter how you hook it, whether you hook it through the nose, whether you hook it through the back, you got a square piece, no matter what you do, inevitably that bait's going to spin, down there. And anytime you can add good swivels, and I always tell people, no matter what swivel you buy, if it's got a pound test rating, it has normally went through some sort of test and is going to be a better quality swivel than one that doesn't. So just having a good swivel in there is going to make all the difference in the world of keeping everything untangled.
Awesome. All right, then I'll keep going. I hadn't seen any more questions pop up, so
I've got one. I'm going to get, if you don't mind, Freddie. I'm going to get.
No, go ahead, jump in. I think Roger said one, right?
Yeah, I'm going to throw Rogers up there real quick. He says 50-degree water temps, time to anchor or keep on dragging for blues in a lake.
Roger, that's a good question, and a lot of it is going to depend on the weather system. So if you are prefrontal, I'm going to say drag. drag until they will not eat something moving. If you're post front, barely drag, or if you're not getting much, or if they're short biting, sit up on them and anchor.
Yeah, so that answered that question I was going to ask too about your drag rate and your drag speed. Yep. And you're right. It depends on temperature, water temperature, air temperature, all that.
Yeah.
And you answered my other big question, that there's a big controversy out there in the catfish world with the braid or mono. It's that preferred method. That's basically what it boils down to. So you did say you drag some. Do you use planer boards when you drag?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I want to take a step back, because I do want to touch base on the braid versus mono thing. On the bumping rod, you've seen that I use braid, and that is for sensitivity. That is for being able to tell what's going on. But everything else that I do is 100% mono. I use 50-pound slime line for my main line, and 80-pound leader line. If I'm dragging for smaller fish, say channel cats, things like that, I'll drop it down to 30-pound slime line. So, a lot of the kind of line that you use will depend on, and the success that you have while using that line will depend on the gear that you use. Okay. So if you use a real big reel and it has a lot of drag, and let's say you're the type of person that you like to really horse fish and you're using braid, the percentage rate of you losing fish is automatically going to skyrocket, because you're naturally going to make mistakes. No matter what you do, you can't predict what that fish is going to do at any given moment, right? So if you're fighting him at the boat, you got your drag real tight, and you got braid on, you got a heavy rod, and you got big gear, and you're fighting that fish, and you're a husky feller like myself, and all of a sudden you got a big flathead on, or a big blue cat that's just a freight train, and he decides he wants to go back to the bottom. You can't loosen that drag or strip line off fast enough before he is going to snap that line. So that is a scenario where I highly recommend monofilament, because you can use that same monofilament and you're going to get about, just a half a second of time, maybe a second of stretch out of that monofilament that might possibly give you just the time you need to back the drag off or strip a few feet off and save that fish and get that fish in the boat. So if you're perfect with your gear, if you use smaller reels with less drag, more limber rods, things like that, you can get away with a little bit more on the braid side. If you're a heavy rod, big reel, you like to horse fish, I would recommend that you try monofilament. And, it's going to be a different fight. It's going to be a different feel, but it's your success rate and percentage of losing that fish is going to decrease by giving yourself that stretch.
Very nice. Oh, there's the wife. She's asking, do you kayak fish in the winter?
No. No. I love to kayak fish, but I like to be dry, and I don't feel safe enough on a river in the kayak. Now I got a good buddy, Kayak Mike. I don't know if anybody in here watches him or not, but he's crazy. Like, he'd go out there in the middle of the winter, 2-foot rollers, and go right down the river. But he's much smaller. I'm 240 pounds, and my leg's about the size of Mike altogether, and I don't feel that confident on that kayak.
Yeah, I've seen some of his. He going kayak down in the winter. I'm like, oh no, I'd rather not.
It's a wonderful fight.
And 32 degrees. Yeah, being on the bank in 32 degrees with 3 inches of snow is enough for me. Yeah, No, I don't want. I don't want to be in a kayak.
Nah.
Very nice. Now,
Now,
before we
Fred-
jump, we
Fred-
were fixing to talk planer boards, but before we do, you was just talking about your line.
Yeah.
One of the other questions that is come up on a couple of the other channels has been, how often do you change out your line?
That, at least yearly, if not twice yearly.
Okay.
And a lot of that depends on how much I fish, which, I fish at least 2 or 3 times a week. And then whenever I say that, I'm, full, 10, 12, 14-hour days on the water. So, it gets a lot of use. I use bigger reels. I use Penn Squall 20s, so I can put a lot of line on them. But normally this time of year, it's getting low, and I'll just go ahead and strip it off and send them in if they need worked on, or just go ahead and reline them and have them ready for the rest of winter and start in the spring.
Freddie, I think your wife's got another question for him.
Yeah, she's going to ask all day long if she can. She'd be sitting right beside me, but she's in the other room. She wants to know what advice do you give someone just starting out learning to catfish? What's the, those 1 or 2 start out pointers for them?
Yeah, the biggest thing, and no matter who you watch, no matter who you follow, your biggest superstar out there. The one thing that everybody should learn how to do before they ever try to catch catfish is learn how to catch the bait and pattern the bait that they're going to use to catch those fish. If you learn that aspect of catching fresh bait, keeping bait fresh, and always being able to go out and get that good fresh bait, your skill level will go through the roof, because that is one thing you can mark off your list every time you walk through that door and know 100% that it was not the bait you was using. It's not that that was not the case, that you didn't catch fish. So you can always mark that off. So that's no matter what you do, that should be your number one focus, and learning first before you start anything else.
Well, she should be good at that. She loves pan fishing, so.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Now, where are you guys from, Freddie?
We're from upstate South Carolina, around Greenville area. Okay. So we fish Lake Greenwood, Lake Murray, some of the bigger lakes in the upstate. Not too much river fishing around here for us. There are some, but our biggest chances of catching bigger fish are on the lakes around here.
Okay. So some good baits for you to really, come, let's say going into 2022, river herring is a really good one. I don't know if you're familiar with any of these, please feel free to stop me. But river herring, you can catch on rod and reel, plus on cast net, especially around Lake Murray and Santee Cooper area. I've caught those there whenever I was fishing for the Monster Cat Quest. But white perch, as long as as those are great baits. Large gizzard shad are humongous in the Santee Cooper lakes. Mullet when it comes in, and then American shad and hickory shad. Those right there, if you can learn to catch American and hickory shad, learn how to keep them good in the freezer and get you a little bit of a stockpile. Those are phenomenal late summertime baits. So if you can learn to catch them in the spring when you guys are legal and they run them, and then put them in the deep freeze and have them for summertime, that's going to help you out a lot too.
Very nice. So since we're on baits, before we jump to back to the planer boards, we might as well ask the $1 million question.
Yeah.
Chicken or no chicken?
Oh goodness.
You had to bring it up, Freddie, didn't you? You had to bring it up.
No.
I did, but I don't see the man Dieter Melhorn in here to defend himself. So.
No,
true.
It's like this. Whenever I fish competitively, I'm fishing for I'm fishing for money. I'm fishing for a championship, some sort of competition. And when it comes to that, you have to separate yourself from the many. And I don't mean that in a bad way, but you have to be able to catch everything that you can, pattern everything that you can, and keep all the bait, on hand as fresh as you can. Now, will chicken catch fish? Absolutely. Have there been people catch big fish on chicken? Absolutely. Do I think it's a fluke? No, I don't. I think there's a time and a place. For me, chicken looks better and tastes better in my belly than on my hook.
Yep.
I love Dieter. Dieter's a great guy. He's never done me wrong. He has made a lot of videos with chicken, and he catches fish. If I was going to go out and specifically target smaller fish, eater style fish, yeah, I would use stuff like that. Absolutely, wouldn't hesitate.
It's a great bait for a guide service, because it's going to catch those channels, no smaller fish really quick. So something like that. Yeah, I agree.
Absolutely. And there's another feller. I just had his YouTube channel on the tip of my tongue, and I can't remember. And he's from your area. He fishes out of a V-bottom tracker, I want to think, or a V-bottom style boat. But he fishes the Santee lakes, and he fishes with a lot of chicken, catches a lot of good fish, and so it can be done. And I think there's something to be said about it. I've always been one to say never, because you just don't know. Like a lot of guys that were against demon dragons and, against rattles and against things like that, catfish are an apex predator. When they're in the mood, they attack. So to say that we can't catch fish, like bass fishermen do, is kind of, I know it sounds crazy, almost like we're talking about UFOs coming down or something, but I think we're on the rim of being able to figure out how to take big swim baits, inject them with fish oils, and drag them across Lake Willard and pick up 50-pound blue cats. I think we're on the brink of that. And I think once this industry figures out how to be more open-minded and trying things, if we try 100 times and they all are failures, but on the 101th time we knock it out of the park, that's one level we get to move up in the Mario game. And I think we're on the brink of being able to figure stuff out. And if that's chicken injected into a plastic mold, then so be it. We got to try it, figure it out.
Yeah. I mean,
Exactly.
we've seen, and we've had friends that all over the place has caught by accident wild bass fishing or whatever catfish on artificial bait all the time by accident.
I caught a channel cat on a gray jig Sunday in our panfish tournament. So
we caught a couple lives ago, a few weeks ago. We were out bass fishing, me and a buddy of mine, and we were doing catfish and bass, and we caught a flathead on a like a bait.
Yeah,
little plastic goo bait. I mean, it was aggressive. It thought it was food. So I mean, we know they'll go after things like that. So yeah, it's just finding that perfect mix of both worlds. We'll be able to do that.
Yeah, I mean, like I said before, I've been doing this for many years, and it's exciting to think where this can go. Who knows? I mean, I'm using live scope now to catch bait and start pinpointing fish. So who knows where this thing can go?
Exactly. And
absolutely.
We're on the brink of something special, something new. Like you said, some new piece of gear that's going to make the notch step up a notch in the catfishing community, catfishing game. It's a matter of time before somebody comes up with it. Local Life Outdoors had put up here. What's your go-to bait for catfish?
All over the country, and that's a good question. But if I had to say locally where I'm from, probably Moon Eye. Moon Eye is a wonderful bait. But if I had to say, the whole United States or the eastern United States, say from the Mississippi, Arkansas, Tennessee line over East Coast, I'd say gizzard shad or gizzard shad throughout the whole country. It's a predominant bait. Gizzard shad is top to bottom, east to west. So I would say gizzard shad for that. But here locally to where I'm at, Moon Eye, skipjack, and gizzard shad, all three. But yeah.
Very nice.
Now, one thing, you're talking about companies that are coming up with new inventive ways to help the industry grow, and talking about bait, something that a lot of people don't know yet. Skipjack have been a bait that people have been trying to keep alive for a long time. And a lot of people, older people, have been able to keep them alive, for striper fishing and, in big 100-gallon troughs. But Extreme Bait Systems has come up with a new tank that we are now able to keep, large skipjack alive for, up to 2-3 days, and in good numbers as well. So if you're interested, if you're a striper fisherman or you want to learn how to keep big skipjack alive, check out Extreme Bait Tanks and look at the new tanks that they got for keeping skipjack alive.
Yeah, exactly. And if you can't afford to make one of those Extreme Bait Tanks, that there's YouTube channels out there that show you how to make them at home.
Well,
there's quite a few catfish guys that do it.
Here's the thing with Damon, and this is the reason I say this. If you can't, he runs a business, so those products are expensive, and that's how he keeps his business alive. But if you talk to him, he will tell you everything you need to know about how to make it, what they need to stay alive. And on the website, if you go to extremebaittanks.com, on the website, every staffer that we have on staff, their contact is there, and they are there for you to contact and talk to and ask questions. And if they don't answer, you come to me and I go to them, because that's how we run our staff. They're there to help the community and help people out, answering questions, keeping bait alive, anything any question that you might need.
Very nice. Tim Molina had one that popped up, and I think it's flew through. Because you travel so much for fishing, what is your favorite fishery when you're away from the Mississippi?
I like how they said away from the Mississippi.
It's a little bit different word,
but yeah. So the Mississippi it is a great place. That's a tough question. The Tennessee is a phenomenal fishery. The James River is a phenomenal fishery. But some places that people don't know about. Let's say, a lot of people know Kerr Lake, Lake Gaston. Zach Royce guides on Lake Gaston. That's a phenomenal lake. Kerr Lake is another place that is just phenomenal. Watery. Lake Wiley. There's just, oh my gosh, to pick one, that's just too hard. I can't just pick one. That's just too much pressure. There's just so many out there that are phenomenal fisheries.
We'll say your top three. Just
top three. Okay, that'll make it a little bit easier. I would say Gunnersville or Nickajack on Tennessee River. I'm going to say Kerr Lake on the Roanoke Rapids River chain. And then I would say the James River. Those would be my top three, with the West Virginia waters of the Ohio River coming up real hard. they're making leaps and bounds, and they're doing everything they can do to protect our waters here in West Virginia on the high river. So they're coming hard, and they're real close right there.
Skip with Clearview Outdoors says, what's number one tip or strategy for big blues in winter months?
Big blues in winter months. That's a good question, and I'm gonna, you know what, I'm gonna let the cat out of the bag on this one. So we're gonna, if they're not tuned in, they need to be on this one. Skip. That's a good question, and I want to see some high numbers of thumbs up and subscribes. Get that paper ready. That's right. Get that paper ready. So, we have to break down winter in two different concepts. Okay. And you have to understand what fish are doing. So we're going to start off with fish now, because that's what's relative to now. And I think that is what he's really talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So fish now, they have been in deeper water for the summer, staying cooler, in that deeper water. They kind of just, blue cats really conjugate in that deep water in the hot summertime months, right? So the water temperature is starting to cool off, and these blue cats have been down here in this cooler water. So things are kind of getting to where they're meeting in the middle, I guess you could per se. And those fish are coming out of that deeper water and starting to stage up in current breaks, seam lines, structure, or not structure, but cover, structure as far as contours and things like that. Now, as we go through the wintertime, that will change. They will be in that, that water that they're in, but as the water gets extremely cold throughout the day, that water in those flats, those shallow sand flats, those rock flats, those mud flats, things like that, those shallow bays where that sun is beating down on that water for the first 4 or 5 hours of the day, the last 2, 3, 4 hours of that sun that is up, well, that will have that water at its warmest. And those fish will then transition to those areas to get that little bit of warmth, just like you and I would when it's extremely cold. Now, will they stay there? No, they'll transition back and forth, but you have to understand that first thing in the morning may not be the best time to be there, but you get a good warm wintertime, bright sunshiny day. It can be 20 degrees outside, but you might find them in 3, 4, 5 foot of water, warming up from that sun, getting that sun on their backs. So that's a 2-part question. And Skip, I hope I answered that for you.
It sounded like you did perfect on that, Chris. Yeah, I'll notice that too. And that's what I'm learning, that the wintertime's the biggest change with your water. It's going to get warmer in the shallows during the day and cool back off at night. So I'm noticing that the cats are going to come up, get that warm, and go back down in them deep holes. Yep. Again, when it's winter, that people don't understand that deeper water, that 30, 40 foot of water, is actually warmer down there than it is at the surface at night. So, that's a big thing.
And it's like I was telling, we were this weekend in a big tournament this weekend, and it was like most of us were sitting in 40 degree weather. But every time I pulled my bait up out of the water, and I think it's probably 30, 40 foot of water, it was so warm to the touch. So, that's a prime example. That deep water will still keep that warmth. So they're going to stay there to keep warm.
Yep, absolutely. Yep.
I want to say welcome to everybody that's joined us since the chat has started. No, I'm not co-host, and I just jumped in with questions just because. And Kevin from Palmetto Cats just jumped in. So hey, Kevin.
We've got 40 people in the house. Kevin from Palmetto showed up. Chunky Cats showed up. Like Clearview, LG Bass, Mr. Duggars Fishing, Steve Mosley. We've got a lot of great people in the house. Maurice Kaysen, Has Life is in here. Muskrat.
Well, that's two of the three I was going to say something about real quick there, Kelly. You know, Chris was talking about these top lakes and rivers. You know, Brian, Chucky. Sorry, the Potomac wasn't mentioned.
No. Well, now don't take that too serious. Now, I have to say, I have never been on the Potomac River. That is one river that I've always wanted to go fish, but I've just never had really had the chance or the time to go out and fish it. So I hear good things about it, but me personally, I've not had the opportunity to go out there and fish it.
Oh yeah,
we razz those guys a lot. They have got a ton of big.
And they really do have a good fishery. They have a good fishery. They've got a lot of water bringing in good baits, good fishery for them. So their cats are going to be eating healthy off of so many different rivers and creeks coming up into them. So I mean, they've really got probably one of the top ones.
Yeah, and perfect example of that was night before last. Epic was up there. He was fishing with the fishing magician. They pulled a 1 or 2 40-pounders and then a 52-pounder. You know, and then quite a few 20s and 30s from the shallows. So
and from shallows. Yeah.
I wish I had that here. You know, well. Of course, everybody knows what the issues are here on the Ohio River, but man, it'd be so nice to have a fishery like that real close to home. That'd be so nice.
Oh yeah, I'm jealous. Because I ain't got that around here.
Yeah. So a lot of people, Freddie, I don't know if you knew this or not, but for a long time, I'd done a live show on Tuesday nights like we're doing now. And I started it at 7:00 and it was called Tackle Talk Tuesdays. And I actually had to stop doing that show a little over a year ago, about around the same time as COVID stuff started. Had some changes in work and wasn't able to get home in time. But, I'd like to put a question out there for the folks that are watching, if they would like to. I'm thinking about bringing that back. I'm starting to get things straightened out. Where what we're going to be doing in the future. So in the chat, if you guys would like to see that come back, let me know, and that way I can start doing Tackle Talk Tuesdays again. I'd like to start doing them again and start being more in depth with them. Bring back the crowns, I guess you could say, and my famous drawings that were also popular. I can't draw, Freddie. I can't draw, but people love me. I can't draw.
No, I think a lot of us smaller guys out here, we're just getting started, and the more shows that we get a chance to watch with different ideas, different things, is great. Personally, I'd love to see you back. That way, I can dig more into you and find out some of that knowledge you've got. Kelly does a great job with his tackle. What's in your tackle box?
Oh, yeah.
It starts at 6. So, if you started back up, that's perfect for some of the small ones. We come in, hang out with him for a little bit, jump over to see you for a little bit.
I don't mind it. I honestly, Chris, I don't mind it one bit if you bring it back. I really don't. I mean, your show actually is what made me kind of start mine.
Well, thank you.
So
that's awesome.
Because I hadn't seen you in that whole entire year. Yeah, and I was like, we need to kind of bring it, because I didn't know if you were ever going to bring it back. But now that you're kind of wanting to bring it back, hey, I'm all for it. Hey, I'll drop mine. I'll say it. I'll drop mine down for an hour. I'll drop mine from 6 to 7. Let you have that 7 o'clock slot. I'm all good for it.
Well, we may do that. May talk about it. Have to see what the future holds, and right now I'm concentrating on trying to get as many videos out as I can a week, and do those as good as I can, and hopefully people are enjoying them.
Anything I can help you out with it. If I can help you out with the show, I mean, I'll help you out with it. Whatever.
Well, I appreciate that.
And there's always a bearded wonder here for everybody.
Yes. But Freddie, you better behave. You know there's somebody in the chat that might kick you off his show.
Well, that's just Chad.
You just
He
got
loves
it.
me.
You just got it. You've only been on the show once.
No, I've been on there 3 times now.
Oh, twice.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
This is our 1 month anniversary. The next show. So. So get back. I guess we need to get back. Back on board. We were just asking about planer boards.
Yeah.
And with that, now that you say you do use them, how much line do you typically let out before you clip on your planer board?
I'll tell you what. I'm gonna grab my. Good thing I do this in the garage, right? Hold that thought.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna pop this question, but it's a nice of a comment.
Yes.
All right. So you see, this is a big boy. This is a SST mag. Now, I have been using offshore boards for. Shoot, I can't.
Let me put you on full screen real quick.
Yeah. So I've been using these for. These are SST Pro mags. Those are the big boards, and then here is their smaller. Get that to focus. There we go. They're smaller boards. So, offshore tackle planer boards is a board that I have been with for probably 10, 12 years, 10 years anyway. They're a great company, and I always, as most people know, if I like a company, I stick with them forever, really. And these smaller boards are the ones that I use for dragging. You was talking about like dragging baits, dragging in lakes, and the amount of line that I let out will depend on how far or how hard I want the board to pull out, how active the fish are, how wavy it is, how fast I'm going, just a lot of conditions like that. So we'll really keep it in the general frame. So now these boards, I will admit, do not pull as hard as, say, a Clear, a Parks, boards like that. Okay. So you will not get as big of a spread with this specific board because it is a walleye board, as you would, one specifically made just for dragging. But on a general, if it is a little bit of a chop and I am going to drag a 1/2 mile an hour, I will cast my bait out and I will let it hit bottom. And then I'll just let it feed out probably, say, 50 foot or so. And then I'll hook my planer board to it, and then I'll just let it go. And if that's my first one, that's going to be my farthest one. That's going to be, out behind the boat. And there are times that I will almost let a Penn Squall 20 completely spool out, depending on how many boards I'm going to run, And that also depends on the area I'm fishing. If I'm fishing a big mud flat where I don't have too much of a worry about, getting snagged up a lot, I'll let them puppies out and let them eat and really use, I may use 8 or 10, boards depending on what I got going on. And if it's windy, and I'm going to use more weight. So if I'm dragging a 1/2 mile an hour, say I'm fishing 30, 40, 50 foot, 20 foot, something like that, I may only be using 1.5 ounces of weight. But if it's windy, got, rollers or, just different conditions, I may have to up that to a 2, 2.5, or maybe even a 3 ounce weight. If that be the case, I may have to let more line out. I may not be able to use as many boards because they're not going to be able to pull as hard out because I got so much line out. The more line you have out, the smoother you can get things to drag. So the smoother you can get things to drag, the better. If you got a bait out there and you're post front and you're dragging and that bait is just getting yanked from every third wave, well, that every time it's getting yanked is a second or 2 seconds or 5 seconds that it's being inactive in the water. So more line you let out, the smoother it's going to be, the better your chances are of, getting that bait in front of a fish that is willing to eat. So that's dragging. Now, the big dogs, the SSTs, this is why I originally started using offshore tackle planer boards. When I first started with them, there was not a board out there, and there may be now. I don't know. But I do know that these work, and they work very well at this. I wanted to figure out a way to dead stick my baits in a river and drift downriver, whether it be the Ohio, the Tennessee, the Mississippi, whatever it may be. So everybody likes the dead stick right beside the boat. But when you're watching your sonar and you'll see these fish, they'll come up in your sonar and in your lines, and they're just, it seems like you can't get them to eat. Well, I got the bright idea to take one of these big boards. And I remember when I first got these, my fishing partner laughed at me. He said, "What in the world are you going to do with them things?" I said, "Well, I'm going to try something, and so I set my baits down, and like I was going to dead stick right beside the boat, and I hooked this planer board to it, and I had 8 ounces of weight on it, and that board kind of went up like that right there, and just started floating right back behind the boat. And I thought, well, it held that up and had a big piece of skipjack on it. I got it out behind the boat, flipped the bell, and it went over, just opened up pretty as could be. And there I was, just floating down the middle of the river with 4 boards on each side and 2 rods right by the boat. And all of a sudden, those fish were coming up in the lines right beside the boat. And then those planer boards started dropping like floats, and it has proven itself to me in the summertime, whenever I'm drifting for blue cats, that if I got enough current, anything 0.7 or greater, 0.7 to 2 miles per hour, I will use those planer boards and free drift underneath the planer boards, or not free drift, but kind of like dead stick style drift under the planer boards and cover a huge body of water drifting in the river on ledges and things like that. And it has been absolutely phenomenal over the last several years that I've been doing it.
Wow, that's definitely something that I'm sure a lot of people in here will look into, because we do have a lot of dead stickers, or and that gives them a chance to spread that bait out.
Yes. When it comes to blue cats, the more water you can cover, the better off you are.
Oh, let's see.
I've got one question from the chat.
One coming up.
Yeah, Local Life Outdoors. It says, Chris, I fish the rivers of South Carolina, and the average water level is 6 to 8 foot. It does have current, so I have caught 50 to 60 flatheads. Right now, the river is at 4 foot. What areas would I target?
Wow, that's deep. No.
Yeah.
So 6 to 8 foot, and you got 50 and 60 pound flatheads, brother. That is holy cannoli. That would be one heck of a fight. Fighting a 60 pound flathead in 8 foot of water would be an unbelievable fight. When it comes to flatheads, the biggest thing, especially big flatheads, they are very territorial. They you find a big structure, that's where they're going to be. And when I say structure, I truly mean cover, because there is a difference between cover and structure. But cover, whether it be a sunken barge, a big tree, just whatever you can find, that's where they're going to be. If you can find scour holes with wood in it, holes behind bridge piers, washouts and banks, things like that, where they can tuck up in and ambush that food, or they can tuck up in and rest until nighttime. And I'm going to guess that if you got a body of water that's 4 to 8 foot deep, you're going to have a lot of time throughout the year that nighttime is going to be your best. Your light is probably going to be super bright during the day, and they're going to be tucked up in holes and stuff in the bank that you may not even see. So if it was me and I was fishing those areas, I would look for the nastiest, just the ugliest cover you could find, and just something when you throw in front of it, there's a good chance that if something does come out and eat it, that you're going to get snagged up. That's where he's going to be. And that's where your higher percentage of catching those bigger fish are going to come from.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah.
Oh, let's see. I think that was pretty much it for me. I had all of them written down for that. Those were some of the questions that have come up the past couple of weeks in a couple of the other chats. I usually try to keep the big ones written down just for myself. So now I appreciate that. I'm going to jump off here, Kelly, so I don't take up too much of your show.
Oh, you're fine.
Well, Freddie.
You're fine. Hey, you've had some good questions, so hey, it worked. And that's what it's supposed to be. Anybody else that wants to jump up here, if you got questions, I mean, it's just being in the back of your mind. Hit that link, jump up, and talk.
You did have one thing that you had up there.
Mark, if you got crappie questions, I mean, there you go. You can get them. It don't matter. We can ask.
Now, Kelly, I did have one last thing before I jump out there, Kelly. You did have that one comment from Muskrat up there from Roger. That the comment about him following Chris as well, it pretty much got him started. So I want to make sure you put that out there. But I appreciate it, Chris. I'm going to jump out of here and let y'all finish up the show. And thanks for answering the questions, bud.
Oh, you're very welcome, man. Thanks for joining us, and thanks for asking. It's been a pleasure.
Yes, sir. Anytime you need me, I'm on somebody's channel.
The Bearded Wonder. I got your number now.
All right, bud. Later, y'all.
See ya.
All right, see you, Freddie.
Yeah, I'd love to have somebody else jump in here. That was a lot of fun, and I hope Freddie enjoyed it as much as I did. So hopefully we get somebody else jump in here.
Absolutely,
ask a bunch of questions.
He seemed like it was the questions he had was just answers were spot on. Definitely.
Good.
And no, we're not going to talk about food on here. No, Chris, you. They all want to start asking about Little Debbie cakes on here. No, absolutely no.
Hey.
No.
All right. He said no.
We'll talk about that later. That later.
Okay. One thing I do want to bring up, I've had a lot of people, asking about. So I had a website. It's slungercat.fish, and I was selling apparel and selling some things on there, and it just got to be too much, honestly, for me to be able to keep up with. So people have been hitting me up on how they can get, let's see, right here, this, clothing with the Slungercat logo on it. What I've did is I've joined with Catfish Clothing, and they are now making and handling all of the Slungercat gear, whether it be hoodies, T-shirts, hats. It's all on the Catfish Clothing website. Just go up there and hit the Slungercat Outdoors link, and you can go down through there, and they'll get you taken care of. Let's see. There is a code. It's Slungercat20, and that gets 20% off anything you order, whether it be Catfish Clothing, Slungercat, Twisted Cat, whatever they have on their website that you order. Use that code, and you get 20% off.
Awesome, guys. If y'all heard that, and they're gonna ask, what's your favorite Little Debbie snack?
Oh, that's a no-brainer. That's the oatmeal cream pies, baby.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean that's like, I mean, there's not a single Little Debbie that's bad, but no. if there's one that's better than the other, that is the monster oatmeal cream pies. I mean, you just
big family size, the big family pack ones. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You can't get no better than that. You take that and a Diet Pepsi, shoot, it's like winning the lottery right there.
All right. Anybody else want to jump up? I think Justin Fishing Fish had a question, and I'll pop it up there. He says, when dragging baits, let's see, dragging baits, how far out back is your baits when you're dragging them? How far do you put them back?
Yeah. Justin, that's a great question, buddy. And, one thing I would say with that is it will depend on the rod. So if let's say my first rod out, I hook a planer board to it, and that's going to be the farthest one away from the boat, then I don't need to let as much line out before I hook my planer board to it, because it's going to be farther away from the boat and not have, as long as the conditions are okay for that. You got that calmer weather. You don't have to have a lot of line out to get that smooth motion. Now, as I get closer to the boat, and specifically the ones that are dragging directly behind the boat, I will let them go way back, 150, 200 feet, depending on what reel you have and how much line you have. Put as much as you can behind the boat, and you will notice a huge increase in your bites going up. It seems like when that boat goes over those fish, they kind of scatter and hunker down. And as your boat gets farther away, your transducers are not pinging, you're not making noise. Everything kind of settles back down, and then your baits come across them, and then you're giving them more of a chance to settle down, and then your baits hit them and you catch fish.
Well, let me introduce our next person on our panel. This is Mike Greenwell. This is Bumping Mike Greenwell.
Bumping Mike Greenwell, buddy. Thanks for joining us.
What's going on, Chris? How you doing, bud?
I'm doing good, buddy. How about yourself?
Not too bad, not too bad. Hey, I just want to say I watched those that 3 series Mississippi River video, man, and I thought that was pretty awesome. That brought up a question in my mind. What's the biggest difference in bumping the Ohio River and bumping the Mississippi River for you?
Oh, huge difference. Truly, Mike, not even a comparison. Mississippi River, you just have so much current and so much pull, water mass, and the current pulls in a different way. So on the Ohio River, you kind of get more of a straight current. You know what I mean? And even at the dams, you don't get that slow current on top, fast current underneath, or slow current underneath and fast current on top. So on the Mississippi River, you just got so many different variables in the current and how much current. In one curve, you may go from zero current to a 5 mile an hour current just within a couple hundred yards. And just inside from that current, you may have a reverse current that's 2 miles an hour. So the current is just tremendously different in how you have to fish it versus bumping the Ohio River, where you're going to have that steady 2 miles an hour, or a mile and a half or 2.5 miles an hour, and it's going to be relatively straight, around a good bend, things like that. So the current is the biggest difference.
Are you still looking for the same stuff? Mainly, like 20 yards away from the structure, you bump right next to it, or I've only been on the Mississippi one time in my life, so I'm really interested in that.
Yeah. So the way I approach the Mississippi is I find places, and this is what I tell people: if you're going to the Mississippi, don't fish. And I guess this kind of goes for anybody in general, right? So I'm going to use Lisa Halloway and her husband as a prime example. They went to the Mississippi River. They was from southern Alabama, Tennessee River area, right? And they went down there, and absolutely won the tournament a couple years ago, fishing the way that they like to fish. They found a backwater bay, and they went in there and started dragging baits and absolutely just hammered fish, caught all kinds of fish. So whenever you go there, and that goes for any place, in general, fish your style. So I go to the Mississippi River. If whenever I was new, I went and I looked for things that I was comfortable fishing. That's 2.5 mile an hour, ledges or structure or something like that. Now, if you are comfortable fishing, and I don't know, can you guys hear that outside?
Yeah.
Can you
A
hear
little
that?
bit, yeah. It's fine.
Like I'm looking for my shotgun. Like I want to go outside my garage and find out what the heck's going on. That's,
If you need to take
nuts.
a break, go ahead and do it. If you need to take a break, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, that is nuts. I don't know what's going on out there, but my wife and kids are at dance practice, so I ain't worried about it. Let's get back on track. So, bumping, the Mississippi River is, whenever I'm looking for that, I'm looking for that current that I can feel comfortable in, right? So for you, Mike, if I was that give you some sort of tips whenever you go out there, if you're comfortable bumping in 2.5 mile an hour, go out there and find that current that you feel comfortable in, and start there. And then as you get more comfortable bumping and walking baits in heavy current, then you can go out and try to catch fish in that heavier current, maybe that 3-4 mile an hour current. But whatever you do, this goes for anybody. Don't just go to the Mississippi River and throw a 5-ounce sinker on and take off in 4 mile an hour current, because before you get to the other end of it, odds are you're going to be spooled and you're not going to have any hair left. You're going to pull it all out, because it is very frustrating, and it happens just like that. So go out there, find the current that you feel comfortable bumping in, and just start bumping it, whether it be a sandbar or a mud flat or wing dikes, whatever it is. Find that current and go start there.
Now, since the Mississippi's got current most of the time, unlike the Ohio, do you think those fish, do people catch the bigger fish out in the heavy stuff?
So, no, I will argue that fact. I catch fish in the Mississippi in, that 3-4, mile an hour current. But, my success really truly is that 2.5 to 1.5, good current, but not too much current, manageable stuff. There are some really good fishermen that fish the Mississippi River that they will find little tiny pockets of current that may only be 1 mile per hour, but they'll have, say, 3 mile an hour on one side and 4 mile an hour on the other side. And they'll find that little sweet spot that may only be 20, 25 foot wide. And they'll sit in it and spot lock and walk baits down that little tiny path. And that is where they catch really big fish.
So maybe like they're swimming in and they get tired and they just, they find that slow stuff too. And they're like, oh, thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Those big ones, they didn't get big by just being silly. So they, they're lazy, just like myself, and they'll get up there in that slacker current and, just lay right there in it until they're ready to do whatever they need to do.
All right. Well, I appreciate you letting me come on and ask you questions.
Oh, no problem. No problem at all. Appreciate
See you, Chris.
Oh, see you, Mike. Thanks for coming on, buddy.
Yes, sir.
No. Freddie's got one more question for you in the chat. I'll pop it up there. Says, wait, I got one more question. Says, does Chris consider himself a master angler, a pro angler, or just a really good angler? And what does he consider a master angler?
So this has been something of controversy, I guess you could say, for many, many years, between sponsored anglers, professional anglers, promotional anglers. Honestly, Freddie, I just consider myself, a good fisherman. I never think of myself as better than anybody. I've learned some amazing stuff from people that if you was a judgmental person, you wouldn't give them the time of day. But you sit down and you talk to somebody and you can learn some amazing things and gain some great relationships. So I just consider myself I wouldn't even say a good angler. I'm gonna step back from that, and I don't consider myself a master angler, a pro angler, good angler. I consider myself to be a blessed angler. Blessed in the way that God's given me the energy to wake up each morning and fish. He's given me a wife that will put up with it. That's a big ticket right there, and he's provided me with everything. And man, he just blesses me when I go out, and whether it be a 2-pound or a 50-pound fish, it's just a good time. And I can't help but give him the glory for it, So, Freddie, I hope that answers your question. And I hope I didn't overwind it.
He put his comment in there. He says, "Great answer." He said, "You had me at hello." That was all he did.
You had me at hello too, Freddie.
I've got a question from Catfish Curtis. It's actually a question that I've been wanting to ask, but I don't know if anybody to ask. It says, when bank fishing below falls, do you cast near the falls or further downstream? Because I don't know if anybody knows Kentucky or not, but we have Cumberland Falls here. I've been really wanting to try to go down there and catfish down by the falls because we've got a lot of current coming off of that. So,
yeah,
you cast near the falls or farther downstream?
So, I'm going to ask the audience a question on this. And this has been the way that I have been able to successfully teach others. I always feel like you ask people questions, makes them think, and they will take that information more. So if you have a dam, and those fish are coming to that dam, why are those fish coming to the dam? That's the first question. So for you, Kelly, what would your answer be to that? And as we're talking about this, I want you folks to put your answer in chat, and I'm going to switch over to the channel so I can see it. So why are these fish going to the dams?
Mine would be that's where, especially the current, you're going to have that, almost like the dams, you're going to have that eddy that your bait fish is going to gather in those slower current spots, eddy. They're going to be almost trapped there. So the bigger fish are going to come up to that spot to feed. So to me, I want to fish toward the falls, toward that eddy, if I'm going to really want to do it.
So that is right there, almost exactly perfect. So every fish that is coming to the dam comes up there for one reason and one reason only. They're coming up there to feed. Well, I guess I shouldn't say one reason only, because there's two reasons: to feed and to spawn, right? So the bait fish are running upriver to spawning grounds, and then here comes all the other fish, stripers and catfish and gar and just whatever coming up there to feed, and some of those fish are actually coming up to spawn as well. So if we're there to catch fish, we want those fish to be eating, and they're coming up there to eat. So if we can cast up into the water and then slowly walk it down naturally out of those falls or out of that water in some way, shape, or form, whether it be float or bouncing it like I would back bounce in the Mississippi River, we're going to automatically increase our odds in catching fish more so than if we was to just cast it downriver farther behind those fish. So think of it like that. Either if you have an area that the bait is concentrated in and you can hold a bait up there, hold it up there. Yeah. Or get it to where you can walk it slowly out of that current and catch those fish as they're moving around inside that, feeding grounds.
Gotcha. Yeah, a lot of people got to get some good answers.
Yeah, and Roger's right. Muskrat Adventures is right. A lot of these dam areas are much more shallower than what you would think. Greenup Lock and Dam, for instance, where I'm from here on the High River, up in close to the hydro is really just about 10 or 12, 14 foot deep, which is actually really shallow. And there's a lot of concrete and just different things that are on the bottom. Mm-hmm. And, there's some shallower areas in there, but that's, and it's deeper areas that's how deep it is.
I like Greenwell's fishing. Mike's answer says, in other words, learn to bump. I like that.
Yeah.
Yep. I guess I'm gonna have to learn to bump. I guess I'm gonna have to learn to bump if I'm gonna be going down there, because that's one place I've been really wanting to go and try, because I don't really hear very many people down there fishing for catfish, but I know they're there.
Yeah.
I know, because that's nobody goes down there much. I mean, it's a tourist attraction is what it is. Yeah. So you're not going to get a lot of people down there fishing. I mean, yeah, they do go down there with kayaks and things like that, but not very many people are going to go down there and actually hunt for catfish. They're hunting for bass. They're hunting for panfish.
Where does that run? Once it comes out of Cumberland and the falls, where does it run to then?
I think that comes all the way up into Lake Cumberland. I mean, it's all connected.
So, the Cumberland Falls, is it below? Is it what? Is that what?
It's in McCory County.
Okay, so is that what makes Cumberland Lake, or not?
No.
Okay, no. It's at the bottom end of Cumberland Lake, and it starts Cumberland River.
Yeah, it's at the. Yeah, but it's coming. It's flowing upwards.
Okay.
Yeah, like the way we're set up, I think it's something like that. It's flowing. Yeah, it's flowing downwards. Never mind. But yeah, to us it looks like it's flowing back up to Kentucky, but it's not.
Yeah,
the way we're set up.
I'm trying to think. There's a lake between Old Hickory and Cumberland. What is that lake? If anybody in the chat knows it, speak up. But there's a dam that would be that actually is the.
We've got on the west. We've got Del Holler. We've got Wolf Creek Dam. I know we've got that off to the west.
Okay.
Of all that. Lake Cumberland is flood stage will back water to Cumberland Falls. Yeah, that's right. When it floods, the Cumberland Falls gets huge. I mean, it's makes it a lot bigger than it normally does. Laurel.
Huh.
Laurel hole. I'm looking at the map right now. I pulled it up on my other screen. Look at it. Flows. Falls. I'm trying to pull my map over where I can see it a little bit better.
Hey,
Might make my stream just a little sluggish, so just bear with us.
Tim has a wonderful
The Laurel Lake, Kentucky Redneck. Yeah, Laurel Lake runs into it. Cordell Hole is the next lake below Cumberland.
Yep. Okay. So I've fished that dam before. So I know that you guys will have catfish up that way, but I'm going to say that it's mainly going to be channel cats and possibly flyheads.
Okay.
Hey, Tim brought up a really good point. If you want to bring his his statement up there on the screen, I think people should see that. We should talk about that a little bit. So having a plan for, landing a fish at a dam is a huge undertaking in its own. And I'm glad Tim brought that up because that is a huge thing. We all, when we go fish, we want to catch a big fish. But in the heat of the moment, we don't think about what we're going to do if we catch a big fish. And it's happened to me 100 times. I will be out there fishing, get hooked up with a good fish, and then realize that my net's up in the front of the boat and I don't even have it ready. And I have to figure out a plan, what to do. So having a plan, especially at a dam where the current is going to be swift and you're going to have a lot of trouble and a lot of things going against you, working against you, having a plan on what to do makes a huge difference. So I'm glad he brought that up.
Yep. Muskrat is stepping out. He's going to go ahead and get ready for his show tonight. But he says, Chris, it's always a pleasure hearing from you.
You too, brother. Do you know who's going to be on his show tonight?
I do not. Cannot remember who he said he was going to be on there, but I know he definitely has a guest on for tonight.
Nice.
Check and see if anybody's. Oh, here you go. Said Catfish Curtis says, "Don't forget to mention below the falls is tidal. Does that play in a factor?"
Huh. Well, I did not know that. That would definitely play a factor in how you would do that. Depending on how the current would be coming up. Obviously, if it's if you're getting that water coming back towards the falls, you might get an area or a pocket that is extremely calm or slack, and that could be a really, really good area as well.
Yeah. Freddie's got a comment, not really a question, but a comment. He wants to know, because how tall is my new friend Chris? We're both about 240 pounds. So if he's like 5'10" like me, he's going to be my new best friend. Sorry, guys. Just saying.
Buddy, we're besties. Freddie, you and I are besties. We're close enough, brother. I'm 5'11", 240. I got a new bestie.
Chris from Hooks and Hammocks, Chris Lee from Hooks and Hammocks says, Chris is an awesome first name. Just saying.
I couldn't say it better myself, brother.
Oh, Mr. Duggar's like, all right, Freddie, just send him flowers in your number.
Oh, goodness. I like lilies. Lilies, Freddie. Lilies.
Oh, Freddie's awesome. He is. I'm glad he's part of our catfish community now. He's been a joy to watch growing this community big time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yes, I will post your question, Danimal. Chris, according to Real Time Catfishing, John Parker, me, Kelly, can't fish worth a lick. Could you give Kelly lessons to change that?
Well, maybe you guys are giving him too hard of a time. Maybe he just doesn't have the fishery, but we'll definitely give him some tips and help him out. Maybe he can start catching some more fish.
Yeah. See, I told you guys, I just don't have the spots around me.
Yeah.
They don't want to believe me.
Fishery plays such a huge role. I mean, for instance, Justin, catfishing or kayak catfishing.
Yeah.
He's got a phenomenal fishery around, him and Catfish Dave.
Mm-hmm.
There was a couple others that had YouTube channels in that area. That Tennessee River is just a phenomenal fishery. And I would love to have a fishery like that around me.
Oh, yeah.
Where I could just leave and go catch it at perfect timing and fish for a few hours and catch a bunch of fish.
Well, Catfish Curse says he found his honey hole. So thanks, Chris.
You're welcome. You have to hit me up and let me remind me of what you're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, where he's fishing that. He's going to fish that falls.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I'm gonna try this. I'm gonna try it too. I'm gonna have to go down there. I mean, it's a good little ways drive, but I'm gonna have to try it out. It'll take me about 45 minutes to get down there from my house.
Yeah, Whisker and Stripes. I actually guide partially in Kentucky, and it's hard. It's hard to go and compete with being a guide on the high river, to compete with people that can go and spend the same amount of money that they're spending with me, with somebody on the Tennessee River or the Mississippi River, and have just a phenomenal time. I really, really wish I could live closer to those places.
Yeah. Let's see. Roger has Bobcat Outdoors on tonight.
Bobcat Outdoors.
Yep.
I have a bobcat in my freezer. I need to get to the taxidermist.
Oh, there you go. Oh, here we go. Michael Murillo. Welcome, Murillo Family Fishing. He's got a nice little question here. It says, Chris, what is your advice on how long a leader line to use in a lake or reservoir populated mainly by channel cats and some flatheads?
So I'm gonna take for granted that you're dragging, and this is another one of those questions.
He's
from the bank.
on the bank. Yep.
Okay. So we're from the bank. That is that's awesome. So let me see here. If you're not familiar with my Kentucky double hook, or the double hook Kentucky rig, not necessarily my rig, but one of my favorite rigs, that would be the one that I would highly, highly recommend you use, especially from the bank, because it's going to give you two different depths. It's going to allow you to fish two different baits, two different cuts, two different styles of bait, many options right there. A live one, a dead one, just so many things you can do with a double hook Kentucky rig. That would be my number one tip for that. But that's going to be depending on how far you want to cast it. If you're wanting to cast, or you need to cast a really long way, shorten it up. You put that sinker on the bottom, and then put about a foot up. You'll put a T loop or T knot with your first hook, and then another foot and a half. Put another loop for another hook, and that's going to give you about a 2.5, 3 foot, section. That will allow you to be able to whip it out there real long distance. Now, if you got some deeper water and you don't have to cast that far, maybe use a longer rod, then you can get away with one up to 4 foot, maybe even 5 foot, depending on your rod length and how far you're trying to cast it out. But that double hook Kentucky rig would be one that I would highly, highly recommend you give a shot and trying it.
Yeah.
And if you don't know what that is, I don't know that I have one tied up here.
You got a video on your channel of it?
Yeah. I do have videos of it on my channel. How to tie it and how to use it, things like that. Because it's a wonderful, wonderful rig.
I was going to ask you, you pre-tie all your rigs before, don't you? You make sure you have plenty.
So
Okay.
I don't. Let me move out away from the mic so you guys don't hear all them rattles. So I pre-tie a lot of things, but if I'm pre-fishing, I don't. If I'm pre-fishing, I just tie a bunch of different stuff and try it.
Okay.
Now, once I figure out where I'm going to start, then I'll pre-tie several rigs up before I get started. And I got a few of them in there that I don't have. I do not have a double hook Kentucky rig in there.
He did say, he said, that is an amazing answer. So I appreciate the extra details on it.
You're very welcome.
It does have a lot of those types of locations available to him. So let me
There's
put
a
you on
look
screen.
inside the tackle bag. Uh-oh. You got the Slunger Cat Edition Demon Dragons and some monster floats for real big double hook baits. And then I got just some pre-tied rigs, just regular single hook pre-tied rigs in that one. And let's see. You know what? Nope, that's just a bumping rig. And there's some bumping rigs in there. I do not have a double hook Kentucky rig tied up, so I apologize for that one.
No problem. Mike Greenwell has got a question he forgot. He says, what water temperature is top cold for you to bump in?
For me,
cold. I think it meant too cold.
I know a lot of guys that will bump and drag, in 40 degree, 45 degree water. But for me personally, when that water gets in that 50 degree range, I'm done. I usually go to an anchor or spot lock whenever that comes, whenever I come to that. Now, this time of year, if I'm specifically fishing for blue cats, in a river system like Mike's talking about, I may, drift and then get to a piece of structure or cover and spot lock, right specifically on those fish.
Yeah.
Maybe they're a little bit more lethargic or something like that. But, for bumping this time of year, going into winter, about that 50, 55 degrees, somewhere in there, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm going to an anchor.
Appreciate it. Small town. Yeah. Appreciate that, man. Appreciate that comment, but thanks for having an awesome show. Appreciate that, man. Morelos Family Fishing says those are some sexy dragons there.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Any last questions, guys? We've got about 7 more minutes because till Roger with Muskrats goes live. We will give him his respective time for the night.
Absolutely.
So if you all have got any more questions, let's get them in before we have to get off here. Greenwell said, thanks, Chris.
Kelly, I did see something in chat that brings up something that I want to talk about. There was a guy there. He talked about how, fishing, a lot of things in saltwater, can
I saw that. Yes.
relate to freshwater. So I am huge. I used to bass fish. I crappie fish, right? There's a lot of things that I do other than catfishing. There are so many things that you can relate that can make you a better catfishing person by doing and watching. Kevin Van Dam. Unfortunately, we had Ott DeVoe, Mike Iaconelli, Bill Dance, all these huge bass fishing people. Then you got the crappie guys that are out there. A lot of people may know Josh Jones. He's a huge live scope person, big bass fisherman. Watch those people. Watch how they are relating the weather conditions, the water conditions, just how minute of a difference makes a difference in how they change or approach a situation. And then you can relate that directly to catfish, because if a catfish is an apex predator and he's eating bass, he's eating crappie, and those crappie are eating shad and minnows, and also the catfish is eating shad and minnows and skipjack and things like that. All those things that they relate on how to catch those fish, that catfish is going to relate in a natural way of catching those fish as well, which gives us an advantage on how to learn where to predict those fish to be.
Yeah. Art from 1 Ton Fishing Club, 1 Tonners for Life, wants to know, when will Chris be back on Kerr Lake?
Art, I will probably be there, I would say this winter sometime. I just come back from the James, so, be a few weeks before I really go anywhere else. And, of course, we got the holidays and stuff coming up, but I'm going to go out there. I got a good friend. Some people may know him. It's Alan Thomerson. He runs a guide service out there on Kerr Lake, and it's called Primetime Guide Service. But, I'm going to go out there and spend a couple of days with him and have some good time dragging up some big old blue cats. But I'd say somewhere around the first of the year be when I'll be out there.
I know we mentioned this earlier in the thing, but Mr. Duggar is wanting to know, what is your boat? What kind of boat do you have?
So right now I'm running a Sea Arc, and it is a Protege. It's a 20-foot. It's got a 15-degree hull. It's got a Suzuki 200 on the back of it, and I run a Minn Kota 112 Tarova on the front with Active Target Live Lowrance from BBG Marine. And anybody that's watching this, if you guys are in the market for electronics, whether it be Garmin, Humminbird, Lowrance, I am not sponsored in any way, shape, or form by BBG Marine, but I guarantee you, if you go to BBG Marine and you talk to Brian, they're out of Georgia. They are by far 100% the best customer service you'll ever have, the fastest shipping you'll ever see, and the best knowledgeable people about electronics and what you need to fit your situation that you'll ever need. BBG Marine, I know it sounds like I'm sponsored by him and I'm trying to be a salesperson for him, but Brian is super, super good, and I guarantee you he'll knock it out of the park for you, and you'll get the best price you possibly can get through them.
Whiskers and Stripes wants to know, Chris, do you think you can get him on an amazing deal from Damon on a 35-gallon extreme tank?
So this time of year, and actually I'm glad you mentioned that. I need to talk to Damon. We usually get all of our staffers do a new tank every year. So this time of year, we normally get a list together of tanks from staffers and what they got, and then we sell them for 25% off. They're only a 1-year-old tank, phenomenal shape, still have all the warranty, guaranteed, for all that. So keep an eye on the Extreme Bait Tanks Facebook page, and also my social media stuff. I'll share, whenever we get a list together of what tanks we have. They normally don't stick around very long. And so keep an eye on that, and you'll see it. And when you do, jump on it, because there's a lot of people out there that are looking for them.
We've got a little bit of a rigged question here from Mike's Fishing Home. Appreciate it, Mike, for throwing this question up. It says, did you have a good time up here, Chris?
Buddy, I'm guessing he's talking about tonight, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. I know it's probably hard to tell that I had a good time, but no, I had a wonderful time. It has been phenomenal. A lot of fun. Heck, we've been on 2 hours, and this went by like I just been on here 30 minutes. So it's been a blast.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And we've got a few more questions before we get out of here. Mr. Lance Makuga, our Hawaiian fisherman, it says, for fishing around structure, says, I use a slide rig I used growing up in Hawaii. Works great. Don't get hung up in the structure. So it's a little more of like a comment, but he uses a slide rig.
Now, I'd like to know more about that. Are you talking about a sinker slide style rig, or so? I don't know if you follow me on social media, but if you don't, shoot me a message on Messenger, and heck, I'd like to see a picture of that. You never know.
I think he's got a video. I think he's got a video up on his YouTube,
Okay.
showing that kind of rig. If I'm not mistaken,
Well,
I think we were talking about that this week.
If you do, shoot me a link to it. I'd like to check it out.
Yeah. Justin's Fishing Fetish has got a question. He says, Chris, can I be your apprentice and Joey so I can learn from the Catfish Jedi Master?
Oh, everybody needs a Joey. Everybody needs a Joey. Kelly, do you know what he's talking about?
Do what?
Do you know what he's talking about? Yeah.
Oh, I know what Joey is. Yeah.
Okay. I just want to make sure.
Yeah, we all know what Joey is. It's your net man.
Yeah, everybody needs a Joey.
Oh yeah, everybody. That's what we talk about around, because a lot of our tournaments around here now that we do on YouTube is we always talk about that you can have one person with you. You can have a Joey. So yeah.
Do you know where that started?
I can't on top of my head. I do not remember.
So I'll tell you the story. Fishing and stuff. Keith Robertson went out and done a video with Chris Grammas from Catfish Clothing, and his fishing partner is Joey. And if you go back and you watch that video, Keith does a wonderful job, on just making it look like Joey's life is just an array of nothing but work. Joey's got to get the bait. Joey's got to get the net. Joey's got to cast the rods. Joey's got to bait the hooks. And it just goes on and on and on. And everybody needs a Joey.
Yeah. Art says, better yet, said, will Chris be fishing the ice bowl?
I doubt that I'll be fishing it, but you never know. I don't even know when it is. I know it's in the winter. I'm wanting to think it's around the first of the year. So it's possible. It's possible. I don't know. I'm going to have to find out the details. If it's around the same time frame that I was thinking, I may go out there and see if Alan wants to fish together.
All right. Dan from Danimals, he says, Chris, I've only ever caught 2 flatheads. One in a shallow river, one in about 20 to 30 foot of water off the dock in a lake. Is really a Pacific area for flathead hang out, or was it in open water a fluke? When he talks about off the dock, he means about 100 foot out.
Yeah. So I wouldn't say that what you caught in the lake in open water was a fluke. Odds are, without knowing and talking to you specifically, I'm going to guess that either that fish that you caught was early morning, late afternoon, or at night, which means that fish was out roaming, feeding. If it wasn't, then it was probably during a early springtime of the year, whenever flatheads are out, feeding after they come out of their wintering holes. But in rivers specifically, and lakes too, there are specific areas that these fish like to hang out. Flatheads are 100% cover governed fish. Now that cover and structure will change throughout the years depending on what they need or want. Warmth, cover, spawning, feeding, whatever it might be. But they still are, strictly cover and structure style fish. Now, at nights, late mornings, late evenings, they will vary from that and go out to feeding grounds where they can ambush prey. That would be the difference on that. Mm-hmm. If I was fishing a lake in your area, I would stick to those time frames. If you're fishing a river, don't hesitate to fish during the day if you have some depth. Like the other gentleman we was talking to earlier about, fishing his body of water, his river was super, super shallow, and it was super, super shallow completely, right? It averaged between 4 and 8. If your river has some deeper waters, you can definitely, get on that bite during the day in that deeper cover. So don't hesitate to do that.
Gotcha. Oh gosh. Mr. Duggar, I don't know if he really knows who my brother is, but I'll ask him. He wants to know who's the better fisherman between me and my brother. I don't know if you know who he is. It's Timmy from Chesapeake Bay Catfishing.
Well, I don't have to know who he is. These guys are looking for some drama. I'm going with your brother.
Oh, I know they are. But hey, I have to say, I'm still up here doing what I'm doing, fishing and in my shows. Do you see my brother Timmy anywhere? He's nowhere to be found. Nobody's seen him in months.
He's too busy catching fish.
No, he's too busy working. I know what he's doing. He's working too much. He retires from the Army and then goes right back to a job that keeps him busy week long.
So what was you say he retired from the Army?
Yeah, he's 22 years in the Army.
Now, was you in the military as well?
No, I wasn't military at all.
Gotcha.
No, with our family that stopped right there. As of right now, that's it. He was. I've got his son is in. His son is in the Air Force reserves. But family wise, like my brothers and stuff, that was it. He was the only one that joined up, and now he works for a company out in Aberdeen, Maryland, the Jacobs Company. Do a lot of projects, grant work for the government and military. So that's what he does now for a living.
Nice.
So he's right back in the military basically again.
Well, hopefully he's staying safe out there, and hopefully everybody on here is. It's a crazy time to live in this country. That's for sure.
Yep. Appreciate y'all guys. We're gonna go ahead and get off here. Let Muskrat have his thing. Chris, if you want to stick around just a little bit after we end it, we'll talk a little bit. But appreciate everybody coming in here. We've held up about anywhere from 30 to 40 people at all times. So, but appreciate everybody coming in, asking questions. It's been awesome. We'll keep on doing this interactive questioning. I kind of like it with our next guest coming up. I will be out Thursday fishing. Don't know yet where I'm going. If I'm going crappie fishing or catfishing, we'll see. But we'll see you on the next live. So everybody head over to Muskrat, give him some love. Yes, sir.
Hey, Kelly, if you don't mind, before we go, one thing I always like to do is if there's anybody on here watching that needs prayer, wants somebody to pray for them, needs somebody to talk to, I would love to help you out in any way that I could. If somebody on here that has a family member or themselves that is dealing with an issue, I would love to pray for them and talk to them and help them in that issue. And if you're okay with it, I'd like to close this show out with a prayer.
Hey, absolutely, go right ahead. I'm all for it.
All right, buddy. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, we just thank you for this day. Thank you for this day to come together, Lord, and just share with our brothers and sisters in Christ. Lord, we thank you for Jesus and what he did for our sins. Lord, we just thank you for everything that you bless us with. And Lord, I know there's somebody that is watching this show today that needs to hear this. Lord, I know that there's somebody out there that is having a rough day. And Lord, I know that you want them to know that you love them, Lord, that you're there for them, and that you're just waiting for them to come to you and just open their heart. Lord, I pray that person, whoever it may be that is watching this show tonight, would open their heart to you and come to know Jesus as their Lord and Savior, just as I have. Lord, I pray that you keep everybody safe, continue the success of this channel. Help Kelly to just be a great person and spread your word. And Lord, I just pray for everything that you've blessed us with on tonight's show. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Well, Kelly, thank you very much, brother.
No problem at all. Appreciate you, everybody that's still sticking around, and we'll see you all on the next live.
Take care.